Hi, and welcome to Feeling Beings Who Think. My name is Ariane Rice, and I am delighted that you have joined me for this episode. Today, I want to talk with you about two of the most valuable and treasured gifts in your possession. They are gifts that shape you and gifts that you shape. They're intangible, they're personal, and far too often we absorb messages around them that tell us these gifts are in short supply, that they're scarce, and that no matter how much we do, we will never have enough. And that simply isn't true, but it is an indicator of a transactional mindset, one rooted in scarcity. If you haven't guessed already, the gifts that I am talking about are your time and your attention. Last week, I had the pleasure of speaking with coach, facilitator, writer, podcast curator, and host Jennifer England. And her vocational journey is fascinating, how she has come to support social change makers. And I hope you'll listen to that episode if you haven't already. And during our conversation, Jennifer was describing what shaped her career early on. She's talked about the summers that she spent with her dad on scientific expeditions in the high Arctic, in the northernmost parts of Canada, Yukon Territory, a landscape of profound extremes of light and dark, of temperature, of silence and solitude, a place where how you give your attention, how you decide what needs your attention is shaped not at all by clocks or online calendars, but by the environment itself and the way in which you are in relationship with it. And so as she was describing these experiences, all of a sudden I prompted a question/observation, and one that I don't think I've asked a guest before. Wow, I said, that really must have shaped your relationship with time. Understanding time and attention as gifts, as these relational assets, not transactional assets to be spent, but relational aspects that we are given and we give, that understanding is essential to our leadership and our spiritual growth. I'm not talking about the skill of time management. I'm not talking about that competency I'm sure you have of always getting done all there is to do. I'm talking about the how underneath it, the being underneath the doing, because I'm asking you to consider, how do you hold, or do you hold, a relational understanding, a relational engagement with your time and your attention and how you choose to give it? Because when you approach your time and attention in this way, I know it will better support your decision making, your visioning, your agency in charting your path, the path that you are on to move towards your goals, the ones that really matter in your life, in your work, and in your leadership. So I want to offer you a framework, a writing practice to help you explore your relationship with time and attention, and most likely get a little bit more clarity on some shifts you could make to give yourself more time and attention towards what matters most. Writing is one of the best tools we have for self-reflection. Not writing for the world to see. This is not an exercise. This is not a writing exercise to learn how to write. This is a writing exercise to listen to your inner narrative, to listen closely, compassionately to what is speaking within you, to discover your wisdom. So get a notebook and a pen. And if you really want to type, I get that too. But ideally, you're getting a notebook and a pen. And choose a time, give yourself space for an unhurried hour at a time and a place where you are attentive and awake and curious. I'm going to give you 3 questions, and each question requires 5 minutes. You can just set a phone timer and take each sentence stem one by one. It's just a fill in the blank. Number 1, I want to give more time and attention to ... Number 2, I don't give more time and attention because ... And number 3, the feelings that this disconnect creates in me are ... For each of these sentences, just write for 5 minutes. Just write, keep writing. Don't go back and read it. Don't edit it as you go. Try not to really think about what you're writing. Just write until that timer beeps and you put your pen down and stop. Name whatever it is that is true. Let whatever feelings arise, put down on paper anything that comes to the surface in this exploration. You are simply writing what is real for you. And then when you're done, step away, put it down, maybe for a couple hours, maybe until the next day. But when you come back to read it, which is the reflection piece of this, when you come back to read it, I want you to really be in an objective state of mind. I don't want you to approach it as if you already know everything that you said. I want you to approach it like a good friend asked you for your time and handed you something and said, I'm really struggling with the way in which I'm giving my time and attention, and I want you to read this and tell me what it is you see and hear. Here are some of the things that might show up, along with some other things that I can't possibly name. Where are you deprioritizing something that deeply matters to you? In other words, where are you choosing one thing over another, and you're putting your actual priority down on the list of to-dos in order to serve someone else, and particularly serve how you want that person to see you? Do feelings about your own worth and what you deserve come up in this writing? Are there questions around, am I possibly worthy of stepping towards this? Is this something I could give myself towards? Or is that something that I don't deserve? What are the feelings that are coming up? How is it that what you're not giving your time and attention to, even though you want to, how does that point to something deep down that is connected with your calling, with your creativity, with what you were given to do with this one incredible life, as Mary Oliver says you were given? What does it say to you about how you are or are not living into your values, living into who you want to be, how you want to be remembered? Where is it that you might need to call on some courage over comfort to try a new way of being? Or where, in one of my favorite sayings, is some resistance on your part pointing towards a big invitation? And finally, because we do have to make choices when it comes to our time and attention, where are you choosing to give your attention to something that is familiar and easy instead of just letting that go? Where are you choosing to give your attention to something that might look great on the outside, but doesn't feel great on the inside because it really depletes you of your time and attention that could be utilized towards more deep work, more creative endeavors? What might you have to let go of in order to choose you and choose what you want to be giving your time and attention toward? Let me give you some examples from my work with people, particularly people who find themselves at a crossroads, either personally or professionally, in two ways. One way is that something has been thrust upon them. They find themselves in a situation not at all of their choosing. Maybe they were laid off. Maybe there has been a shift in their family dynamics, in their dynamics in their organization. They have to take on responsibilities that they did not plan on taking on. So everything has changed with the way in which they are moving through their days, and they need to shift the ways they are giving their time and attention. When that happens, we tend to not even pause. We tend to just keep moving forward as fast as we can, and doing so in a reactive capacity. We just start doing what it is we think we're supposed to be doing. We fall back on shoulds. We become reactive. We listen to cultural messaging around us, particularly around what we should be doing. And we operate out of worst case scenario planning instead of taking time for deep, explorative daydreaming. Daydreaming is really a word that I think works here. Taking that time where we're not focused on thinking of something, we simply are letting ourselves be. Instead of just rushing in towards fixing, solving, getting through this particular dilemma and doing what we think is expected of us, instead of taking the time to step back and ruminate for a minute on what it is we want to be doing. When we operate in that reactive capacity, instead of responding in a way that required us to pause, we're not really choosing the path that we're walking on, are we? We're simply running ahead to catch up to something that we think we're supposed to be catching up to. Oftentimes, we are relying on familiar patterns and familiar behaviors in order to do that. If that resonates for you, pay attention. And sometimes people arrive at a crossroads because they can no longer ignore a desire deep within them. Something needs to give, something needs to change or grow or be claimed. It's just something they can no longer ignore. And when there's that internal awareness, how are your time and attention, the ways in which you are utilizing now, how might they need to shift to serve you in this new situation, serve you in making this decision and choosing which of the many possibilities are before you? Because yes, time and attention are gifts we are given in abundance, I truly believe. And at the same time, as in all good paradoxical truths, they are finite, right? That Mary Oliver poem, what will you do with this one wild and precious life? What's really important here as you examine the possible patterns, whatever it is you notice, whatever really stands out to you in reading back over your reflections, pay attention. Oh, don't pay attention. Give your attention to the places where you are operating by default, to the places where you are maybe assuming that urgency is required of you when in fact stepping away, pausing, figuring out what's important will help you decide in a more productive way what's urgent, what's important, how might you need to shift the ways you are giving time and attention to others to serve yourself. That's why this fourth step of reading through the answers, reading through everything you wrote after the sentence stem exercise, that's why you really want to come to it objectively and without judgment. Don't come to it thinking that there is a right and a wrong and answer. This is excavation and exploration. And most importantly, you're going to be finding and naming the vulnerability that lies beneath your wariness to move in a new direction. Maybe it's fear of how others will perceive you. Maybe it's fear of letting someone down. Maybe it's fear of failure and it not working out. Whatever it is, fear is usually a sign that something new is beginning. Jennifer and I talked about the friction that comes in these times and spaces in our life with communities where something new is emerging. That takes courageous and compassionate care. That's the work of spirituality in leadership. That is the ways in which we find again and again the answers to those important decisions when we are figuring out how to serve. Serve you while you serve the relationship, while you serve the organization, while you serve the vision, while you serve what is good. Okay. I hope that gives you some food for thought, some places of your own reflection on the truth, the liberating truth, really, that time and attention are not commodities to be spent. They are gifts that you hold in abundance. They are ways in which you express who you are, what your values are, and who you are becoming. How you give them and to what shapes your leadership, your vocation, and your flourishing. All right. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you came away, and I hope you did, with something valuable, either a new exercise or simply an insight and way in which you want to explore your work further, then I hope you will support me by either passing this episode along, giving a rating or review, checking out the show notes, and continuing the conversation by connecting with me. All right. Thanks so much for listening.